Hey, welcome back to another video, Guardians. It's Friday and yours back in town. Now this week he's over on Nessus, and in today's video I will be reviewing his exotics, his legendary weapons, as well as his armor, and giving you guys my personal opinion on the roles. But firstly, let me show you guys how to get to your this week. Alright, so once you've arrived at your this week, you'll firstly want to pick up the exotic engram, which will cost a few legendary shards, as well as pick up the genealogy exotic quest, which will reward you with an exotic cipher, which can be used to claim a secondary exotic engram. Now for the first exotic we have Arbalest. This is one of the best exotics in the game. The Arbalest is very good for any barrier champions or any shields in general, because the perk on Arbalest is Compounding Force. Fire slugs that cause massive damage to combatant shields, strong against barrier champions, and the secondary trait on it is Disruption Break. Breaking an enemy's shield with this weapon will make them more vulnerable to kinetic damage for a brief period. Now this is great because the Arbalest is already really good at breaking shields in the game, so if you break a combatant's shield with the Arbalest will actually self-buff itself, and that it will give itself a damage bonus to any targets that you've broken their shield with this weapon. Great exotic overall, and you should definitely pick that up. We then have the Raju's Harness exotic chest armor for hunters. This role has 18 mobility, 2 resilience, 12 recovery, 7 discipline, 14 intellect, and 9 strength. Now this role is alright. It does have a decent bump in intellect, which you do want that on Raju's Harness because it is a super based exotic. Now the perk on Raju's Harness is Mobius Conduit. When you press L1 and R1, it will deactivate the arc staff early to create a blinding explosion, and you will gain a temporary boost to arc weapon damage. Arc staff consumes energy more slowly when not attacking. Raju's Harness is okay, however it doesn't really see much play, so you don't really need that exotic, but the roll on it isn't too bad, so I'd say you might want to pick this up. Then we have the Aeon Safe exotic gauntlets for Titans. Now this role has 13 mobility, 16 resilience, 6 recovery, 2 discipline, 20 intellect, and 11 strength. This is a great stat distribution overall. However, it does have mobility and you don't actually want that on Titans, but overall a pretty good role, and it has a 68 total. And then lastly for Warlocks we have the Stag exotic helmet. This role has an amazing 30 recovery as well as 18 discipline, and 2 mobility, 2 resilience, 6 intellect, and 7 strength with a total of 65. Pretty good stat distribution, as Warlocks do want recovery and discipline. Now the perk on the Stag is Dearly Departed. Your Rift provides damage reduction to allied guardians standing in it, grants Rift energy when you are critically wounded, and on your death it will create a healing rift on your corpse. So basically when you or your allies are standing in your rift, you and your allies will gain damage reduction, and you will also be granted rift energy when you are critically wounded, and lastly when you die it will create a healing rift on your corpse. The Stag is a pretty good Warlock exotic. We're now going to take a look at Yur's legendary weapons this week. The first weapon Yur has this week is the True Prophecy hand cannon, and it has Rampage and Rangefinder. Now Rampage will grant this weapon a stacking damage bonus up to 3 times whenever you get kills, so as you get kills it will increase this weapon's damage. And for Rangefinder will increase this weapon's effective range and zoom magnification when you ADS. It also has extended mag in the magazine, which will greatly increase the magazine size, but also greatly decrease the reload speed and increase airborne effectiveness. For the sight, we have True Sight HCS, which will slightly increase range, stability, and handling speed. And lastly, for the Masterwork, we have a reload speed Masterwork. Now, this is a good general purpose role for the True Prophecy hand cannon, as this is good for both PvP and PvE. PvE because of Rampage is good for PvE content, and PvP because Rangefinder is good for PvP. So a good balanced hand cannon for both PvE and PvP, so definitely pick that up. After that, we have the Shepherd's Watch sniper rifle with Osmosis and Outlaw. This is a bad roll, skip that. After that, we then have the Legal Action 2 pulse rifle. This roll has Rampaging Feeding Frenzy. This is a great roll. Now Rampage will give you that damage bonus. Feeding Frenzy will increase your reload speed as you rapidly defeat targets. Now with both Rampage and Feeding Frenzy, this is a very harmonious combination because basically as you're slaying with this weapon, it will grant the weapon a damage bonus, but it will also progressively increase the reload speed as you rapidly defeat them. Now for the magazine, we have Tactical Mag to slightly increase stability, increase reload speed, and slightly increase the magazine size. And for the barrel, we have Extended Barrel, which will increase range, decrease handling speed, and moderately control the recoil. And the masterwork on this roll is a ranged masterwork. This is a very, very strong PvE roll on the Legal Action 2 pulse rifle, so pick that up. After that, we then have the Die-Side Void Shotgun with Elemental Capacitor and Surplus. Not a good roll whatsoever, skip that. Then after that, we have the Ikilos SRV1.0.3 Sniper Rifle. Now this sniper rifle is one of the best sniper rifles in the game. And on this roll, we have Elemental Capacitor, which will increase this weapon's stats based on what subclass you're on. Now if you're on Solar, it will increase reload speed. If you're on Arc, it will increase the handling. Void will increase stability. If you're on Stasis, it will moderately control recoil and increase movement speed when you're ADS. And lastly, if you're on Strand, it will increase the airborne effectiveness. This is alright, nothing special. The Ikilos can get way better perks in the right column though. In the left column, we have Overflow, which will double the mag when you pick up special or heavy ammo. This is great because on a sniper, if you're doing a DPS phase, if you pick up any special or heavy, you will have double the magazine, which means double total damage on the boss. This is one of the best perks for the Ikilos in this column. For the magazine, we have Seraph rounds to slightly increase range and increase stability, as well as your rounds will over-penetrate targets and bounce off hard surfaces. Then for the barrel, we have Arrowhead Break to greatly control the recoil so you can land your shots more consistently, and as well as increasing the handling speed of the weapon. For the masterwork, we have Stability. This is a decent roll on the Ikilos sniper rifle, and I'd pick this up. After that, we have the Falling Guillotine Sword with Counterattack and Relentless Strikes. Not a half bad roll. Now Counterattack will grant this weapon a damage bonus for a short duration when you block immediately after receiving damage. And Relentless Strikes will give 1 sword ammunition back when you rapidly land 3 sword swipes. Now for the guards, we have Heavy Guard and Enduring Guard. Enduring Guard will grant the sword high overall endurance but low resistance, while Heavy Guard will grant the sword high overall defenses but lower charge rate. And for the blade, we have Enduring Blade, Hungry Edge, and Tempered Edge. Now Tempered Edge will increase the sword damage and ammo. Hungry Edge will just simply increase sword ammo. And lastly, Enduring Blade will greatly increase sword ammo at the cost of the sword's damage. And this roll has an Impact Masterwork. This roll is alright, but the Fallen Guillotine has way better perks in the right column, so I would probably skip this roll for this week. And lastly, we have the Memory Enter Deck Grenade Launcher. This roll has Disruption Break and Clown Cartridge. Now Disruption Break will grant your kinetic weapons a damage bonus if you break a target's shield with this weapon. Clown Cartridge will randomly overfill this weapon's magazine when you reload. So basically, every time you reload, you will be granted a random amount of bonus rounds in your magazine after reloading. Now for the mag, we have Proximity Grenades to increase the grenade's proximity fired from this weapon, but it will also decrease the blast radius. For the launch barrel, we have Counter Mass. This will greatly control the recoil, increase stability, and increase handling speed. And lastly, for the masterwork on this weapon, we have Blast Radius. This is an okay roll. You can pick that up. And lastly, on the second page, we have one more weapon, and that is the Hawkmoon Exotic Hand Cannon. This roll has Textured Grip to greatly increase handling speed, slightly decrease stability, and Quick Draw as the main trait, which will allow you to draw this weapon very fast. This is okay for PvP, not great for PvE however. For the magazine, we have Alloy Magazine to greatly increase your reload speed when your mag is empty, and Polygonal Rifling for the barrel to increase stability. Not a half bad roll on the Hawk Moon, but there are better perks. Alright you guys, so now we're going to move on to the armor this week. Now this week for armor, Yer has the War Mind's avatar set, and for Warlocks, we have 10 mobility, 13 resilience, 2 recovery, 6 discipline, 2 intellect, and 18 strength. Now, if you're a Warlock that likes making any melee based builds, then you might want to pick this up, as this is a good distribution. It has a good amount of strength and a decent amount of resilience, but it also has some mobility, so keep that in mind, and Warlocks don't really need mobility. Now for the chest, we have 2 mobility, 15 resilience, 12 recovery, 6 discipline, 12 intellect, and 6 strength. This roll is alright. This might be a good roll for like any intellect based builds on Warlocks, like Phoenix Protocol, but overall, you can skip this. For the helmet, we have 6 mobility, 13 resilience, 6 recovery, 10 discipline, 9 intellect, and 9 strength. This is not a good roll. And lastly, on the boots on Warlock, we have 2 mobility, 10 resilience, 10 recovery, 2 discipline, 10 intellect, and 14 strength. This is okay for strength based builds, but it only has a total of 48. Alright you guys, now we're going to move on to the Hunter class. For the Hunter class armor this week from Yer, on the gauntlets we have 20 mobility, 2 resilience, 6 recovery, 11 discipline, 13 intellect, and 2 strength. This is good overall armor distribution stats. It has a good bump in mobility and a decent amount of intellect. However, it only has a total of 54, so this roll is mediocre, but I'd say you can pick this up. For the chest, we have 10 mobility, 7 resilience, 6 recovery, 10 discipline, 7 intellect, and lastly 7 strength. This roll is bad and you can skip this. On the helmet, we have 14 mobility, 2 resilience, 12 recovery, 11 discipline, 6 intellect, and lastly 9 strength. Pretty mediocre. And lastly, we have on the boots, 10 mobility, 2 resilience, 10 recovery, 6 discipline, 9 intellect, and 11 strength. That rolls pretty bad. Alright you guys, so now we're going to move on to the last class this week, which will be the Titans. Finally, for Yer's Titan armor this week, on the gauntlets we have 22 mobility, 6 resilience, 2 recovery, 6 discipline, 13 intellect, and 6 strength. Now, however, even though this roll has a good amount of mobility, Titans don't actually want mobility, and this roll only has 55, so skip this. On the chest, we have 14 mobility, 2 resilience, 10 recovery, 12 discipline, 6 intellect, and lastly 6 strength. This roll's pretty mediocre. I skip that. On the helmet, we have 14 mobility, 2 resilience, 12 recovery, 16 discipline, 9 intellect, and 2 strength. Now, this roll isn't too bad. It has a decent amount of recovery and discipline here. However, mobility is also present, and you don't want that on Titans. So I'd probably skip this. And lastly, we have on the boots, 13 mobility, 6 resilience, 9 recovery, 15 discipline, 6 intellect, and 8 strength. This is a bad roll, and it only has a total of 57. Okay Guardians, so that covers Yer's items this week. I hope you guys liked this video, and if you did, drop a like on this video, share it, and subscribe to my channel.